Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of SpongeBob Now. Today, I will be talking about Driven to Tears, in Rule of Dumb. First, I'm going to talk about Driven to Tears. Enjoy. The narrator opens the episode by stating, "It is a very special day in Bikini Bottom." The camera then shows SpongeBob and Patrick heading down to Mrs. Puff's boating school. Once they arrive at the entrance, Patrick says he brought SpongeBob special learning cards that has everything he needs to pass the boating school test. However, Patrick then eats the cards and claims learning tastes good. Even though SpongeBob needed those learning cards, Patrick convinces SpongeBob that he is a winner and does not need them. SpongeBob then claims he is a winner and takes his boating school driving test. Unfortunately, after 1 minute and 37 seconds, SpongeBob fails the driving test for the 58th time. Patrick, thinking the test is rigged, decides to take the test himself and passes with a perfect score on the first try, much to SpongeBob's surprise and jealousy. They go to receive Patrick's license, but while his picture is being taken, an announcer comes out to reveal that since he is the 1 millionth person to pass the test, he has won a brand new hot red boatmobile, the new Bass Blaster 3000. SpongeBob and Patrick drive home in Patrick's new boatmobile while Patrick talks about how fun driving is, much to SpongeBob's disappointment. That night, Patrick is heard working on his boatmobile and comes to SpongeBob's door at 4 a.m. to show his new license. SpongeBob tries to get some sleep, but is woken up the next minute by his alarm clock. SpongeBob, now very tired, tries to walk to work, but, unable to walk because of his tiredness, he eventually gets a ride from Patrick, who rubs his license in SpongeBob's face and brags even more. When SpongeBob gets to work, he tries to talk himself out of riding with Patrick, but finds out that Mr. Krabs has chosen him to run the Krusty Krab's new drive-thru. He meets Patrick in his boat again. At closing time, Patrick drives up, now wearing a racing outfit, claiming that he must keep up his image as an expert driver. While driving around, Patrick rubs his license in SpongeBob's face even more, even stopping to talk to SpongeBob's parents about it and embarrass SpongeBob. Patrick then starts driving slightly above the speed limit, which prompts SpongeBob to try and get him in trouble for speeding, but he fails since he tells Patrick to stop and a police officer tells him he's going far under the limit. Patrick then runs 3 red lights, and makes an off-screen illegal U-turn through an orphanage. Furious, SpongeBob finally snaps after Patrick calls himself a driving genius, admitting his jealousy toward him, and this would have been his boat if he passed. Patrick calls out SpongeBob for his jealousy and that he should be happy for him getting his license, but SpongeBob chews his friend back for rubbing his license in his face. Patrick denies this accusation and literally shoves his license between SpongeBob's eyes. In a final fit of fury, an enraged SpongeBob tears up the license and throws it out the window, much to Patrick's despair. This gets the attention of the police officer from earlier and causes a whole squad of cop cars to chase after SpongeBob and Patrick. When the police yell for Patrick to pull over, he instead begins driving out of control, not knowing what to do since he no longer has his license, and eventually drives off of a cliff into the Bikini Bottom jail yard with the police following after him. Patrick is put on trial and found guilty of littering. The judge gives him 90 days in jail to hold him accountable. However, a remorseful SpongeBob admits the truth and gets the 90-day jail sentence in Patrick's place. When SpongeBob is happily released, he gives a delighted Patrick a new license plate for his boatmobile, but Patrick reveals that he threw out the boatmobile because it stopped working when it got to E, which he thought meant end, which really meant empty, as in out of gas. As the episode concludes, SpongeBob and Patrick pretend to play boats with SpongeBob putting the license on Patrick's butt and riding him away. Next, I'm going to talk about Rule of Dumb. Enjoy. A starfish from the royal ministry comes to visit Patrick for a special delivery, but Patrick initially mistakes him for a mad librarian and hides. When the starfish announces he has a gift for Patrick, which is a crown, Patrick dashes out of SpongeBob's house and grabs his gift with a naive perception of its concept. The starfish explains it is an item to wear, not to eat. Patrick is pleased when he gets the shiny crown. The starfish explains that he had uncovered a family tree showing Patrick to be descended from a king, thus making him the official king. SpongeBob becomes Patrick's servant and shows a treaty to the other Bikini Bottomites whenever Patrick takes something from them. SpongeBob assists Patrick firstly by going to the Krusty Krab and ordering for Patrick when Mr. Krabs looks at him in shock and comes to him in a happy way. However, he kicks both Patrick and SpongeBob out of his restaurant due to Patrick's refusal to pay a bill, disregarding his advantages of royalty. Patrick then resorts to stealing a Fish's Krabby Patty and Shake, then a Nerdy Fish's comic book collection that had been ever expanding. Patrick then gets other citizens to line up leading to his rock, which is turned into a magnificent castle, with one of their possessions. Next morning, Squidward wakes up in a good mood, but that is quickly spoiled when he is blown away by the wind inside his house because Patrick is making a crane move it back a little bit to build a Ferris wheel without permission from Squidward. Squidward finally explodes after coming out of his house and announces to everyone that Patrick could not be a king because he is much too stupid, and tells them that he cannot be a king of anything except being a moron. The townspeople realize that Squidward is right and they abandon Patrick, deciding not to listen to him anymore. Patrick's insane and awful attitude inside his castle makes SpongeBob afraid of him, and he slowly walks away, saying he needs to go to the Krusty Krab for work as an excuse. Realizing that his servant just left him, Patrick goes for a drink. On his way, Patrick looks at himself in the mirror and sees that being a king has turned him into a monster as his horrible future. He gets frightened at this sight and goes back to the starfish who made him king. He gives the crown back to the royal ministry starfish, who then rechecks the paper of ancestors who were made to be king. After wiping a stain on the other side of Patrick's family, he realizes that Gary is the rightful one who really has struck royalty. SpongeBob and Patrick become servants and Gary gets the crown. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos. Goodbye everyone.